That would be me.
Okay, yeah.
Ooga booga.
Now.
That would be me.
Tarzan, I remember it very well.
Oh, yeah, yeah. You do this.
Al Young has
And
a
then,
character.
Sharon will be
Al
right
Young
there.
has a character. His name is O.J. Gabuka.
All right.
Or do you want to do the camera? Okay, so she's coming over there.
Ready?
Yeah, yeah, you're we're good to go. Thank you, Sharon.
Hello, sacred grounds. Mucus to my ears.
Mucus.
Poetry of all kinds, ladies and gents, is welcome. But we do ask you to respect Sharon and Dan and the mic,
The mic.
the Sam, the Yeti, the Bill. Keep conversations to a whisper.
Or-
Put phones on mute or vibrate. Dance around the room and vibrate. And do not distract the speakers or the amplifiers or the transmitters or pass in front of them or through them or behind them. Also, keep to the time limit, usually 5 minutes, but sometimes an eternity. But that can change. Remember, we have 2 shows, thanks to Dr. Seuss, the 7-ish and the 840-ish. So if you have to take a pish, go between the 7-ish and the 840-ish. So I ask for generosity. Give me money, give me your firstborn. By going short,
The second, because you.
as opposed to me and Dan are long and Jack is short, go short. It's better. It helps everyone on the mic. It helps get everyone on the mic all at one time. On the head of a pin, exactly. If you want to be in a loop, got to go to Chicago. Sorry, but I can't take you. We have an opt-in email list, and we have an opt-out smoking section about 100 yards down the street, and a Facebook page. And we stream live, and we ripple.
That's the
and
link right there,
we-
just so you know.
Thanks to Mr. Natural. Thank you, Mr. Natural. Remember the ongoing theme. Never doubt that a small group of committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. Margaret Mead did not sing that, but that's what she meant. The evening's theme is...
The evening's theme
The
is,
evening's
thanks
theme
to
is-
Rob, poems shorter than their title.
Poems shorter than their title.
I have one of those, actually.
Also, next week's feature will be...
Next week, Gore Vidal. No. Not cheese. Tony Alderondo.
Tony Alderondo. Now it's the first show.
The
Keynote will be me.
Keynote is David. He's also the first one on the open mic.
And I'm first on the open mic, so you're going to get a belly full real quickly. Our feature is...
Our feature is Jack and Sungay. We're right here. Jack and Sungay. You can't hide from us. We see your beautiful face and your handsome.
And they will give the Queen's Wave.
Ooh.
As to the second show, the last word will be...
Mr.
Sanderell, the Cursive Writer. The mini feature is...
The mighty Brett Benson.
The mighty Fred Benson.
And of course, you are the keynote.
And I am the keynote. And we have fabulous door prizes, of which I am not one. Be advised, although... Sorry.
Okay.
Already stale.
Already
Be advised, although we record the evening, if an audience member wishes to do so, please ask permission. We will assume you've done so. That's it.
Okay. So
Keynote, that's me.
That's the keynote. So the fabulous door prizers consist of the following things. Gore Vidal's Duluth. I don't know anything about Duluth, but it's from Minnesota, so it can't be too bad. Tin House, Portland, Brooklyn, Ursula K. Le Guin, Charles. Okay, I can't remember that name, but Ben Lerner. So I know Ursula. She's a great kid. Wonderful ankles. Collected poems by Robert Hayden. I know that writer, so that's good. Medusa. This is up just here now. I didn't bring this up. Medusa.
Annie Lee Lennox.
Live in Central Park. So Medusa live in Central
Annie
Park.
Lee Lennox. Is
Huh?
Annie Lee Lennox.
Annie Lee Lennox?
That's
Okay,
what it
sorry
says.
about that. Grounds Are Sacred, the anthology from this little place. Did you know? No, I didn't. Elizabeth S. Lowell. And someone who read here a couple weeks back gave me a few of his books, so I'm going to distribute them. The Red School Bus by D.N. Simmers. And then if those don't float your boat, as we like to say, You can choose next week's theme or the prompt. Be a co-pilot. I usually have two. Richard is going to be the host
pilot
next week, but I'll have two pilots because that makes things go. The last word starts and ends the second show. The mini feature, a 8-minute slot in the second show, and then the keynote, which David is this morning or this afternoon or the evening rather. And they always start the show with a poem by somebody else, reading something by somebody else, etc. ad nauseum, and so forth.
So I screwed up. I had a bunch of stuff and I completely forgot I was a keynote. So I just picked up one of the prizes. Kurt Vonnegut, Dead-Eye Dick. I'm going to read to you cold, stone cold from that. I went for a walk through hospital corridors all alone after Father died. A few people may or may not have murmured, Dead-Eye Dick, behind my back. It was a busy place. I came upon strange beauty unexpectedly in a 4th-floor cul-de-sac. It was in a dazzlingly sunny patient's lounge. The unexpected beauty was in the form of Celia Hoover, née Hildreth, again. She had fallen asleep on a couch and her 11-year-old son was watching over her. She had evidently brought him with her to the hospital rather than leave him alone at home in the blizzard. He was seated stiffly on the edge of the couch. Even in sleep, she was keeping him captive. She was holding his hand. I had the feeling that if he had tried to get up, she would have awakened enough to make him sit back down again. That seemed all right with him. Yes, well, and 10 years later, in 1970, that same boy would be a notorious homosexual living away from home in the old Fairchild Hotel. His father, Dwayne Hoover, had disowned him. His mother had become a recluse. He eked out a living as a piano player at night in the tally-ho room of the new Holiday Inn. I was again what I had been before the fiasco of my play in New York, the all-night man at Schramm's drugstore. Father was buried in Cavalry Cemetery, not all that far from Eloise Metzger. We buried him in a painter's smock and with his left thumb hooked through a pallet. Why not? The city had taken the old carriage house for 15 years of back taxes. The first floor now sheltered the carcasses of trucks and buses which were being cannibalized for parts. The upper floors were dead storage for documents relating to transaction by the city before the First World War. Mother and I inhabited a little 2-bedroom shitbox out of the Maritimo Brothers development known as Avondale. Mother and I moved into it about 3 months after Father died. It was virtually a gift from Gino and Marco Maritimo. We didn't even have a down payment. Mother and I were both dead broke, and Felix hadn't started to make really big money yet, and he was about to pay alimony to 2 ex-wives instead of 1. Old Gino and Marco told us to move in anyway and not to worry. The price they were asking, it turned out, was so far below the actual value of the house that we had no trouble getting a mortgage. It had been a model house, too, which meant it was already landscaped and there were Venetian blinds already on all the windows and a flagstone walk running up to the front door and a post lantern out front and all sorts of expensive options which most Avondale buyers passed up, like a full basement and genuine tile in the bathroom and a cedar closet in Mother's bedroom and a dishwasher and a garbage disposal unit and a wall oven and a built-in breakfast nook in the kitchen and a fireplace with an ornate mantelpiece in the living room and an outdoor barbecue and an 8-foot cedar fence around the backyard and on and on.
Dead-Eye Dick. Now he is.
Okay,
nice.
I'm going to do a little self-body shaming. I'm 72.
Are you?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Jesus Christ in heaven.
So this is the
2
real
months, I'll
David
be
Aird right
73.
now.
What was that?
This is the real David Aird right now.
Well, not exactly. Hopefully not. I'm channeling Edward Lear. I haven't succumbed to suspenders. My belly no longer a pot. From the tip of my nose, I can still see my toes. My hearing completely shot. What?
Ah.
My ears try to grow a mustache. My pockets are empty of cash. Illusions, I'm still 21. With the beauties and bulls I will run. Though I think I am hot, in truth I am not. Take care, I don't get too much sun.
Yeah.
Or as Grandpa Pup would say, Okay. I have 2 exhaust pipes, one below each buttock, hidden in the crease. Too much sugar, too much crud, pus collectors, forming the occasional boil. Backfire, discharge, a little aloe vera on the wound, heal up, begin again. You got a laugh? Yeah. Oh, happy day! Murder most foul, my friend. No longer can we pretend. Oil seeps under the door. Killings go on by the score. Foreign, domestic, there's nothing majestic. Child in a cage, it don't take a sage. We're coming apart at the seams. While the screen vapes out icons and memes, we can't ignore or take 4 years more. Though I'm deaf, I am fractured with screams. Pervasive, this illness will stick, substituting guns for a dick. Passage is right, blues in the night, time bomb continues to tick. Extol corporation, it's killing the nation. Pyramids, top down, St. Nick. National parks, sold for a lark. Please tar me another mall. Real estate screws the homeless. Middle class make do with less. Live under the on-ramp, y'all. Caligula Midas, nothing can hide us. P-tape or grabbing of crotch. Nominate fools or just greedy ghouls. Each vetting completely botched. Conquer and divide, go along for the ride, counting your worthless pennies. At the trough, there's a Goth. Climate change, he's deranged. Secret troops, droning snoops. It's plain that we've lost our way. We're stuck with him every day. As for wisdom, he hasn't any. And finally, JJ, your skywalking cliches. Various and sundry, Saturday and Monday, to whom it may apply, all hung out to dry. Compare, condense, comply, the river may run dry. Colorado, gold, uranium, at the border, ice containing them. Monument Valley, Mitten Butte, smitten cause she is so cute. Zion arches canyon to Shelley, selling parks so we haven't any. Nix the quick fix, nix the dick pics. Mud in your eye, raise your small fry. Bully for you, badger for me. Horizon, horizon, sea to sea. Isolate island, nation of lava. Pineapple, mango, papaya, and guava. Kiwi down under, errors and blunders. Stealing my thunders, brace, burst asunder. Canopy peas, canopy trees. Gliding or hovering, snatching with ease. Remedies in the garden, murmur the breeze. Delight the taste buds, healing disease. Thank you.
Thank you. So he was our keynote and the first person on the open and did the announcement. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Jane Redis. Give her a round of shit because she hasn't been here in summer. Okay, get her on down.
Thank you. I have 2 poems. I just wrote this. Saving for good. The expensive orange sweater I set aside for special occasions, then it became the cat's bed. The fake, another cat toy, and she drags it around the apartment. I was taught the concept of saving something for good, like a special occasion when you want to dress up, look better than usual, not every day. That was reserved for family, like special foods were reserved for holidays. A new hat on Easter, or new flowers for an old hat. That idea is old hat, a thing of the past, preserved in sepia, dipped in bronze like old baby shoes. You never see that anymore. And in my own home, who will get everything? I wish I could leave it up to the cat. All of the people who are gone, did they save? And if they did it end up with 1-800-GOT-JUNK? Happens a lot. Thanks. Coming home from a bad poetry reading. Boring. How can they write such drivel? And then leaving, there on the table was Charles Bukowski's Ham on Rye with a bright yellow cover. That's telling it like it is. That's cutting the mustard. And walking home through Chinatown, the ditch diggers making an awful racket. Welders with the sparks flying in the evening dusk. That's life. Sparks, fireworks, tell it like it is. Walking home after another reading, where Lawrence Ferlinghetti had read, there was comfort in the dusk. Things seemed all right after all of the terrible news on the radio. No ditch diggers, no grave diggers, World War III, what are they thinking? Elect Lawrence president, elect Charles Bukowski vice president. Let the poets take charge.
Being let it, all right. Now we have Brett Peter. What? Brett Peter, you're maroon, please. Then we have David backing him.
Okay.
Good.
This is the John Lewis that was a pianist. John Lewis, reflective notes, expressive notes, a walnut, a diamond. What's that he's playing? Sweet Georgia Brown with a subtle strut. John Lewis sculpted from rocks that no one else would touch, would have the time for. Firm sound that crossed economic and ethnic borders. Dice against the wall. Boys Club squabbles. Ballroom rush and turn. Or a day in the park. Precise. Lovely. Classy. Considered utterance. Thank you, David. Okay, this week's theme, a title longer than its poem. 1. The emotion in this poem, joy. 2. Drinking in the moon, Lipo. 3. Bring down the man in the long red tie, yesterday. 4. Late for a date, 2 ballet dancers meet at center stage. Hands extended, no words. 5. Brooks Island in the fog, wind and echoes. This is for a poet that died in 1965. Jack Spicer, the mantle, the trickster, his fame. How would he wear it? It was his own fault, dead at 40. But I have trouble with the current label. Who? Father of the language poets. Safe in an academic niche, the prearranged shelf. He never was safe anywhere, liking best North Beach nights, life under the Broadway tunnel. I prefer the cocksure boisterous drunk, the emphatic anarchist, the red-faced disruptor of folk songs. And he actually said this, skip to my loo, you son of a bitch. A master at taking chances, a pencil stub in his hand, heads up Grant Street at dusk.
Good, Peter. All right, Buford Bumpers, that's me. I'm next. One of my co-pilots here coming up to take the mic.
Yeah.
Mr. Buford Bunton.
Put myself out.
Just
Yeah, I got it.
you got it? Okay.
I'm trying not to get flat on the floor.
I know. We got it.
You got it. You got it. Hey, no problem.
Oh, you know, one of the door prizes is this. I forgot to mention. That's all right. You have to clean it though because it was given to me and I don't know.
What is it?
It's a penny whistle kind of instrument.
Oh.
I don't know what key it is.
That's
Probably
Rob.
C
Just
or
give it
D.
to Rob. Just give it to him now.
No, he has to earn that.
Give it to him. Go first.
Give him a round of applause.
This first one is called I'm a Happy Dog. My head on a pillow on the sofa. I'm too tired to bark. People love me and give me a place to sleep. I snooze. My face and my heart are happy. I'm a happy, good dog with a happy, good life. There's that one. based on a true story, you know. I advise you.
No disclaimers, huh?
No. I advise you to get yourself together. Being so sloppy with your intentions is dangerous. Hey, look out, I will say to you, especially if you're a young kid. I teach cautiously, as I do with most of my life. All right. This is called flexible negotiation. Flexible negotiation is hard. From what I've observed, human beings either think they can do something or they don't. Stretching is generally outside their comfort zones. Don't freak out, people who think they can handle almost anything, advise. It's difficult to do that.
Owen Dunkel.
Owen Dunkel. Just want to thank the readers so far because they've been generous with their time, keeping in the theme with the idea of them getting everybody on with plenty to spare, as we like to say. Please don't do this at home. We're professionals.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is my latest poem. On the death of a poet, Ronald Sauer. He died a few days ago. If you're in North Beach, you might have known who he is. For Rebecca. Death, oh that death you have died, you who have passed us all, passed us on the way to Valhalla. Ronnie, your ego outstripped the muses, but you took chances that a poem would save you. It took you to glory, it took you to where you belonged. Somewhere, somehow, on the way, a metaphor, a rose on your grave, a metaphor your night. Bones. Times the chimes were fed, differences, diligences, schemes, and dreams. Capsize our enemies. We are headed home to our mothers, brothers, sisters, aunts and uncles around about our dead dark sun. Word doodlings. Horses in harness, none of it will cut your path of swallowing parts of a poem. Grand Avenue is swallowed by fog and cold. It feels the bite of God and the roar of tits with zits. Parts of a poem. The sun shines on Grand Avenue. Tits and doodlings become a sunny day, as if someone had drawn a line across a grain of sand. Other parts of a poem. Henry Miller dawdled and doodled at Big Sur and wrote of Europe and America. Poema Passé. Dylan Thomas was a beautiful boy, saith Jack Gilbert. At 8 o'clock, carry us along, O bright wind. Allow the voices within us to rescind their aces and spades. The accolade of last week, the drums gambade. On high, the med center slouches against the sky, a nightmare of mathematics, all of this. Henry James writes like an Aries, a true Martian at heart. Great men are awful things, Henry James. Passé, along the beach a huge black crow spread its wings to eternity. A poem. Care and wear I thee care of us, for us, some declare the sea and sand, altruists implore the sand is saved. Do once more. On Muni Metro. Muni Metro in San Francisco is a labyrinth of tunnels and underground mysteries, from the J which goes through the Mission
Do the L and N which go out to the C, to the K and N which go out to the Ingleside. They remind one of a child's electric train running along the tracks. They run along and sometimes remind one of submarines emerging from the water after a deep dive. The seats are hard and sometimes one has to ride backwards as the scenery goes by like a movie. Sometimes one is afraid of getting stuck on a delay, and I'm afraid of getting trapped in a tunnel, and I'm relieved when West Portal appears after we go through the tunnel.
Thank you, Mr. Owen.
Thank you very much.
All right, Mr. Owen,
Christian,
Christian, and then who's after that?
Tommy.
Oh, Tommy, you're after Christian. I think we should probably need to always get the next person to know because we got a crowd.
Is anyone in the house over 80?
I feel like it.
He is. The lost and found enigma. As for one who may never find himself, I may have lost what I haven't found. Yet if I'm unaware of what's there, there may as well be nothing to lose. A viper on a hot gravestone interviews a toad. A hawk swoops in over the illegible epitaph. No remorse. Taíno communion. In a sty in Fajardo, Puerto Rico, a male pig's orgasm lasted 39 minutes. In a South Bronx nightclub, 39 sativa buds were dipped into a bowl of red wine, sitting on a conga. The following night, the dry reefer appeared as though it came from Panama. All the musicians' hearts were beating as fast as the timbale sticks. No die selfie. I woke up under a fire escape on Via Delirio. There was no way home, only a series of images that might have been from movies I'd seen, from random dreams, or my past lives. Amir Ananda's ship is passing the Strand. As usual, he has leased the bridge suite on the elegant passenger vessel. On either side of his rooms are those of his two high-fashion model consorts. When not having meals sent in, they eat in the secluded Commodore's den. Since the windows of the greenhouse alcove between his living room and outdoor porch can only be seen out of, their gazing at the beach and town to starboard is off limits to anyone on shore. Finally, this poem reflects life imitating the art of cinematography. Does anyone remember the movie The Umbrellas of Cherbourg?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
The demi-eso prop is white as the ground and the snow flurries in the cold night air. Outside speakers exude La Grande jazz. A woman pulls up in an expensive sedan. The attendant arrives and recognizes the driver. His PTSD intensifies their ensuing sadness. She had betrayed their engagement while he fought in Algeria. His wife and child and I are standing by the heater in the station warming up a few years after the premiere of The Umbrellas of Cherbourg.
Steve.
Tommy, then Steve. Tommy, ever gonna make it? Habib.
Summertime and the temperature's rising. Trees are burning and the city's on fire. Carbon's melting all the ice in the Arctic. So hush, little baby, just be a denier. Like your mama and your papa. Like your mama and your papa. Like your mama and your papa. Bum bum ba bum, bum bum ba bum. Congressperson, do you take the NRA as your lawfully wedded spouse to serve and to obey from this day forward, always doing what's best for your campaign coffers, in mass shootings and in smaller ones too, to defend and protect NRA's reputation, no matter how many deaths, even if they're children. What money has joined together, let no one put asunder.
What about?
This next piece actually quotes a certain idiotic politician from Ohio. It's called Mass Shootings. Blame them on the drag queen advocates, the fatherless, open borders, or recreational marijuana. Blame them on phases of the moon, the killer's astrological sign, the writings of Nostradamus. Blame them on politicians who blame them on gay marriage or mental illness. Just don't blame them on guns. The NRA and the gun makers don't allow it, and they call the shots. And finally, yesterday was the 74th anniversary of that horrible, unforgivable moment when we dropped 2 bombs on Japan. This is called August 6th. They gave the bombs names. Little boy, fat man. The planes, too. Enola Gay, boxcar. Names for weapons of mass destruction. Names for planes carrying death. There must be a word for the leveled houses, the burnt bodies, the screams, the people who never had a chance to escape, who lingered on for weeks, months. A word for the way the victor always justifies the means by which he wins. We only remember the names of the bombs, the names of the planes, not the name of what was unleashed. And a final poem about August 6th. The sun fell to earth twice, leaving bones where there had been children, blackened earth where there had been houses, schools, hospitals, eerie silence where there had been the morning hustle and bustle. Germany had surrendered. Japan was defeated. Still, for some reason, more deaths were ordered. War is a bloodlust that's never satisfied. Thank you.
Give Steve a nice round of applause. And who's after Steve?
Vincent.
Vincent's after Steve.
Thank you. So the craziest thing happened to me on Sunday, and it may not seem that crazy to people who've lived here a long time, but I've only been here a couple of years.
Get closer to it.
Closer to the mic. There we go.
I found myself in a bar on Sunday, drinking a beer with Neely Tchaikovsky, talking about Bukowski. It was very surreal. And then looking at pictures of Bob Kaufman on Raymond Foy's phone that he had taken when he was putting together Ancient Rain. So it was quite a surreal experience for me. So for Rob's theme, I have a poem that did not live up to the title, so I deleted it, and it's just a title now. It's called The Hypochondriac Speaks of Death and Then Dies. These are a couple new ones. Questions posed to the ghost of Ellison S. Onizuka. For those who don't remember him or know who he is, he was an astronaut on the Challenger. Why are you staring at me like that? Is there something I should have done differently? Some other path I should have traveled? Science? Is that it? Would that have made you happier? Would the world be any different? I would never have made it as an astronaut. I would have slept too much in space, failed my missions. What do you care though? Why do you haunt me now when it's too late? Where were you in 1986 when there was still time? Or were you too busy figuring out how to be a ghost? Is death any easier than life? Will you at least light the way for me? And this one is still untitled. Live deeply, I told myself. That seems to be the way to live, even if I don't know what it means. Don't be another automaton. I learned that from Shelley. And it seems to be in line with live deeply. But it's hard, a constant struggle, loss of consciousness of the goal every day, a lack of awareness of movement through life and movement toward nothing. Nothing deep. Only through the piles of shit that life has dumped on me. Movement through the piles of shit, deep beneath. An automaton living deeply. No, not deeply, just deep. Perhaps living deeply is the digging out, the searching for the flickers of light that have made it through, finding hope and holding on to it. Flickers of hope beneath piles of shit. A flame to burn through the shit from within, to rise up, to find a way to climb out of the shit, holding a flame in one hand and hope in the other, or reaching out with the other hand, finding another hand, pulling someone out of the shit with you. Maybe this is living deeply. A flame in one hand, a hand in the other hand, covered in shit, but rising above.
Vincent.
Vincent? Oh, he's
Vincent.
coming. Who's after Vincent?
Danny.
Me?
No. Who are you? Danny Boy?
Oh, that's me.
Sacred grounds. You guys got to remember to talk in the mic. We can't hear you in the back.
What'd you say?
Exactly.
Huh?
You hear me, Owen?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, good. So in the last 48 hours, Uruguay, Japan, Venezuela released advisories to visitors to the United States. And of course, the White House immediately said Venezuela was politically motivated, and then Amnesty International came out with theirs to kind of trump all that BS. This is called normal compared to what? The festering injury she incurred from the fall of 2016 still aches in our heads, through our veins, pumping within our hearts, affecting everyone's equilibrium, pulsing throughout our country. Normally an antacid, elevating a limb, icing an elbow, an extended nap, or a few unbuffered aspirin down with a large glass of water would quell these symptoms. But there is seemingly a new normal, a perplexing prognosis. Each hour, every 2 to 3 days, and within each news cycle, starkly in all persons, who have involuntarily ceased breathing, their humanity slowly draining out upon this fair land's inclusive new battlefields, away from their families' outstretched arms, and the minutes of their lives becoming less and less and less significant, while a diseased portion of our country is hell-bent on an unregulated, overbloated, corporately infused Second Amendment, staging millions of warring level weaponry seeping upon our First Amendment rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, attending a festival, dancing at a concert, visiting a government office, walking down any street, entering any store, with active shooter drills at elementary schools for 6-year-olds, and congregating while praying silently at Shabbat or at a candlelight vigil, remembering those whose normal can no longer be compared in this life, and their life-giving copay covers the brunt of white America confronting the danger of its mythical innocence. And this I just wrote today. I was scribbling it back there. This is my day today. This is called The Camouflage Sidewalks of Intent. I awoke this morning with eyes remembering the images spurn upon my Korean manufactured television from 10 p.m. the night before. Blinking, I remembered a late morning ophthalmology appointment, again having my eyes dilated unwillingly. As I exited my building, a genteel hand wave and hello from our new neighbors. He's a software engineer from Pakistan. She's a scientist, now a stay-at-home mother from Bangladesh. Their 2 beautiful children, with one on the way. I boarded the bus, swiping my Clipper card, giving a sincere howdy to our driver, handsomely dressed in his new Muni black BDUs, who might have been from the Bayview or even his descendants from West Africa. He smiled back, announcing, "Next stop, United Nations Plaza." I took a seat across from a Chinese grandmother who cooed quietly to her hair-ribbon toddler granddaughter as her small hands lightly patted the window at the passing trees, bicyclists, and small minority-owned businesses along the boulevard. Entering the medical building, a security guard acknowledged me with a slight forward bend, with his pleated short draped deep purple turban atop his 6'4" frame. Stepping into the waiting area, a sincere warm smile quickly dispersed with a "Hello, can I help you?" followed by an expedited check-in. She later went back to assisting a patient over the phone in Spanish, gripping the receiver in a deep, rich brown. A small frame man with a light lisp lovingly calls out my name with a slight accent on an indiscriminate syllable, making it sound less European and more South Pacific. "Oh, Valley High." I decide I like it immediately. The appointment proceeded with our 4 separate tests, compassionately ordered by Dr. Patel, and between each of them, we discuss Silk Road-infused literature, the jewels of the Maharaj exhibit at the Legion of Honor, and his upcoming volunteer humanitarian travel to Manipur and Odisha to perform corrective surgeries on impoverished 60 and 70-year-old elders who would be able to see for the first time in decades. I later walked 2 blocks away just past a center that holds support groups for trans women of color and Project Open Hand. I ordered it with chicken with extra picante salsa, and I take a seat looking out upon the early afternoon sidewalk, eyes still wide open, scanning my phone, yet keeping my dilated eyes on the sidewalk now, unconsciously watching for white men in camouflage with intent in their eyes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just make sure I'm framed, because I can't tell now.
You sure?
Yeah. Can't tell. Black shit.
Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, and you're here, and I'm here, and you're there. So these are all pieces that don't have anything to do with anything. Some are short, as you can see. Okay, all right. That $1.37, that change in his pocket, his last day, Vietnam. And so you wonder where poems come from, especially one like this. And it relates to the last one, unfortunately. Okay, here we go. Business-like, misery on his face. The doctor drops the sheet over, closes his case, walks out, the door closes. You still do not understand why he did not hear you, why your hand passed right through, and what's wrong is turning around and staring down at your own face. Okay, and then this just, I'll close with this one. Yeah. Unendurable pleasure, indefinitely prolonged. Now that's reverie with a capital R. Seekers seek for years, while reality consisting of this, the present of the present, that precious ephemeral now, which is truly the only gift that keeps on giving. And breathe it in, live with it, find quiescence of mind, and in so doing allow your relief from your temporal weighty baggage, all those shoulds of your past, the vague coulds of the future, the vast array of conditionals, all the if-thens, might-haves, should-have-beens, should-bes, and the dreadful oughts of darkness. Don't they just drag your perfect body? Do you enjoy being dumped into those eternal moments which never really exist? Are you having fun with the memory traps which are just that, no matter how sweet or dear? Do you enjoy endless wishing for this, that, or the other, getting lost in the antithesis of finding out who you are? You can have the great and wonderful free-for-all, the grand giveaway of all time that everyone is heir to. You have a built-in do-it-yourself kit, the proverbial hotline to the big burner. Seekers, don't be fooled by the wily charlatans, because it can't be handed down, over, or palmed off. It can't be bought or taught, as the man said. It's got to be caught, since it only gives itself away ever and forever, never leaving you alone or wanting, never needing any additions from you, or subsequents for that matter. Anytime, all you have to do is enjoy sharing the bounty of its endless preserve, which renders it elusive to greed. And precious though it is no more substantial than any dream could hope to be. It is as common as water. Being simplicity itself, it reduces all complexity to nothing. Eternal as it is always now. And so it is, just as life itself, a gift, without attachment, condition, or limit. So breathe the free air, my friend. Take the step. Enjoy the gift we all share, unendurable pleasure, indefinitely prolonged, with the perfection of love, harmony, and beauty, the only intimate being the light of the soul when a simple, indrawn breath, a wish upon a star, any moment of peace will get you there. Thank you.
All right.
Martin Joseph.
Martin Joseph are crying out loud, and then our features. Give him a round as he comes up here. You ready, Martin? Let me just frame him. There we go. Oh, you're gonna have to reduce that, you know. He knows that. He knows what he's doing.
Mr. 6'5".
Thank you so much. Keep it alive.
Good evening, Sacred Ground.
Good evening, Martin Joseph.
I was asked before reading this poem to make two notes, one of which is that I was born and raised in the Los Angeles area. And two, those of you who were at my feature in May may remember that I wrote a poem called This Little Piggy.
Yeah, yeah.
That being said, tonight's poem is called No Pigs for President. After careful consideration, I created a bumper sticker. It read, No Pigs for President. I was thinking about Trump and all the others of his ilk, and then I got that call from Carl. Carl, you may recall, was the only survivor of the This Little Piggy tale. He asked me what was up with my new bumper sticker and exactly what it was that I had against pigs. I know you eat bacon, he said, but now you want to restrict our voting rights too? I said, no, I didn't mean you. I meant it as a derogatory term, not literal. Well, thanks a lot for the clarification, he said. Besides, we prefer the term porcine Americans. I mean, how would you feel if someone said that you were like Trump? I was in a bar last night, and out of the blue, this guy shouted out, Donald J. Trump is an asshole! Not a second later, a guy at the other end of the bar shouted out, Hey, I'm an asshole, and I take offense at that comparison. I hadn't seen Carl in months since we had coffee together at the Sacred Grounds Cafe. I asked him how he was doing. Not so well, truth be told, he said. You know all those antibiotics they were feeding me on the farm? Well, it turns out all they did was to harden up the viruses so that now they are resistant to those very antibiotics. You don't screw with nature, man. It just comes back to you. Since I'd seen him last, Carl had gotten a job driving for Luxor cabs. Now he says they want him to come in for a drug test. Well, what if they find out that I'm carrying antibiotic-resistant bugs, he asks. I'll lose my job. I'll lose my apartment. I'll have to move back down to Los Angeles. There, they won't notice my peculiarities because everyone is antibiotic-resistant. And on top of that, you want to restrict my vote. You're right, I conceded, and tore the bumper sticker off my car. I pointed at the car and said, Hey, you want to drive this to LA? I'll help with the driving. Thanks, he said, but no, I intend to fly.
Martin Joseph, thank you. All right, so one of my favorite parts of any given evening is raising the microphone so I can talk to it.
That's not really true. We have a feature here, actually a dual feature. Jack and Sangay.
And I have a little,
They gave me a little thing to read, which I will read excerpts from. After Jack turned 115, so Jack actually has 15 books of poetry. I didn't know that. I didn't know it was that many. Jesus Christ Almighty!
Another one coming.
And he has another one coming in. 5 books of criticism, books of stories, and a 3,000-page chrono encyclopedia, Visions and Affiliations, California Poetry, 1940 to 2005. A severely weighty, it's a 2-volume set, a weighty tome.
You need a doorstop.
Yeah, a very good doorstop. It's a what do they call it? A coffee table book.
We've got a strong coffee.
We can't have a strong coffee. And the graphics are wonderful. He does have an intellectual capacity and interest in pursuit that to me are like, okay, he's way up here, and I'll just kind of be in the kindergarten class on that. Sangay is a lifelong poetry enthusiast and Jack Foley's new partner in both life and performance. You're going to do some things together up here, right?
Absolutely.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
Almost everything.
Almost everything, but you'll be working together here. She's helped edit manuscripts written by her mother, poet Julie Rogers, and lived with her mother and stepfather, poet David Meltzer, during the final years of his life. She's a student of Buddhism and a volunteer for the TLC, Transitional Life Care, a Buddhist end-of-life nonprofit education program located in Alameda. Now, a friend of mine, actually, who passed away several years back, worked with them because that name just rings a bell. So what you're about to hear is a duet, is a pair of voices, a great set of hearts, people who know what poetry is. I mean, they steep themselves in it, they think about it, they write, they read, they go to events, they create events. He interviews people on the radio, and she's with him all the way, in every way that's significantly noticeable, and even the ones that are not significantly noticeable. So, give them a great round of applause. We're going to have a great time up here. Our features for the evening.
And I gotta make this perfect for you, so. Jack and Zunge!
This will be on my right.
Okay, so then I'll put this, let me put this like right here. Okay. We just check to see if this is good. Is that, oh, that's a little too high. Like that, right? Okay, and then we'll frame you in. Oh, you are pretty good already, aren't you? La la la. There we go.
Let's get the pretty one over here.
All
Okay,
right.
thank
And
you.
then I'll give you like that'll be like a 5 or something, so you have some idea. Do you want to do that? A 5-minute warning or something, or?
Don't need, we timed them. I'm a radio guy.
Oh, okay.
Time these things.
All right.
Okay, and thank you, Dan. Thank you for the nice introduction. We may bring you at our house sometime and have you stay a week and say it every day.
All right.
We can do that. All right. Unlike Chris Young, who turned 80 recently, I'm about to turn 79 in 2 days, August 9th.
Well, happy birthday!
Thank you. And I'm going to begin with the birthday poem. It's called, George M. Cohan wrote a play, a once famous play. It's a movie too, several of them, called 7 Keys to Baldpate. I mean, there's a line early in the play, 7 keys to Baldpate. This is the only key to Baldpate. We know that's not true from the title. Anyway, these are 7 keys to Jack Foley at 79.
1,
He is Irish.
2,
He is Italian.
3,
He is Irish and Italian.
4,
He is Irish and Italian and writes poetry.
5,
He is Irish and Italian and writes poetry and talks a lot.
6,
He is Irish and Italian and a Californian and writes poetry and talks a lot.
7,
He is Irish and Italian and a Californian and writes poetry and talks a lot and has wonderful friends who make him pictures and write him poems and wish him a happy birthday as he enters the hallowed halls of antiquity with a leap and a bound and a tendency towards transgressive behavior.
And what continent will you be in, Mr. Foley?
I am likely to be in incontinent. 79 years flew, still flying. Is the mic picking us up, guys?
It's good. It's good.
It's good?
You should just, when you speak, just get us really close, because that.
Okay. She has to snuggle against me, I don't. We speak of film noir, but we don't necessarily realize how widespread the phenomenon of noir, means black, was. Not only in film, but in dozens of popular radio shows, books, even comic books. I was born in 1940. Noir was the primary worldview of my childhood. This next piece is an evocation of noir, of the films and the radio shows especially, and it's called Noir. There is always the woman, always the mystery that we will never inappropriate, but it brings you into the right area. Blonde, unbelievably dressed, her clothes both covered and uncovered, her nervous, elegant, experienced body. Why did you come here? Whiskey. Listen for the warning drums. A woman enters your eyes the way a tear finds its way to them. Hold tight to the deep surprise. Wonder.
Was it a desire to be queen in a kingdom made of dirt? You've sampled men before, your heart's been opened, hurt.
What do you want?
I'm looking for my sister.
How old is she?
Young, 23.
When did you last see her?
A year ago at her wedding.
Where's her husband?
Gone, perhaps with her, perhaps not.
You haven't heard from her?
Not a word.
Why did you come to me?
I was told you would ask no questions if I gave you money.
In the darkness of the city, I work with whatever I can get.
The darkness hides things I don't ask about. So much of life is regret.
So much of life is effort to keep one step ahead of the funeral pyre. 4/5 of life is tedium. 1/5 is fire.
1/5 is fire. Daddy, I want you to meet Sam Arguelles. He's a private detective.
They lived in a mansion straight out of the 1920s. Erich von Stroheim didn't rise from his chair. He seemed frail and old, nasty. A thin arm reached out to me. Yes, I am, sir. I understand you want me to find your daughter. Pah! I want her to get rid of the fool she wed. I want her back in her own sweet bed. I'm a rich old man. I made money. I made money, and money made me. I have 2 daughters. One's in my clutches. One's in my clutches, but the other ran free. The one in my clutches, she will lure you, take you to her bed till she can't endure you. Then she'll come back, ashamed and sorry, telling her daddy he needn't worry. She'll fool you with love, but your brows will lower, 'cause love's not her game. Her game is power. She's daddy's daughter, my own true love. She changes like water, like the stars above.
She's daddy's daughter, your own true love. She changes like water, like the stars above.
But she's beautiful, and I'm in her power. I believe in love, and our love might flower.
He's the man for me. I'm in his power. I believe in love, and love might flower.
She's beautiful, and I'm in her power. I believe in love, and our love might flower. She's daddy's daughter, my own true love. She changes like water, like the stars above. Do you still have your gun, sweetheart?
Yes?
Good. Maybe you'll shoot me sometime. I left before anyone shot anyone. Their words stayed with me as I looked for the lost daughter. Lost. The streets were busy and crowded. Bright sunshine in desolate LA. Was anybody happy here or anywhere? I lived in paradise. Paradise lost. Daughter lost. Me, the finder, more lost than anyone. Tell me your story. Tell me the history of those blue eyes. Call me Johnny Dollar. I found her at a Travelodge on Pico Boulevard in Santa Monica. It wasn't hard. She registered in her husband's name, but he wasn't there. He was long gone. Where's your lover, baby? Is he up in the air? I look all around and he isn't there. Might be in Vegas, might be in Malibu, might be anywhere, except with you.
I'm all alone in a real tough town. People up, people down. Can't trust people, though you want them to. Might be in Vegas or in Malibu. He drew all our money out of the bank, told me he'd be back in an hour. He wasn't.
She was thinner than her sister, wore glasses. The sister was the pretty one. She was the one who read books. They didn't prepare her.
Did Daddy hire you?
No, your sister. Your father wants you back.
Not till he's dead. I'll go back then.
I have to tell him I found you. And where?
Give me 24 hours.
I made my report, doing as she asked. The old man died about a year later, his missing daughter still missing. Died of natural causes. As for the beautiful daughter, we tried, but it never worked out. She had too many problems. Daddy was her true love. I miss her as I write this. I think the old man killed her heart. The other daughter was maimed, but managed to get away. My own heart is missing in this equation. It still beats, I'll give you that. One more loss in this city of lost angels. I'll tell you, it doesn't matter. Are you interested in this story? One more casualty on the boulevard of broken dreams. Oh, we put it that way. There are other ways to put it. So we beat on. Boats against the current, borne back ceaselessly into the past. I'm on the case.
I've got a case.
I'm a case.
What causes cases?
Because we care. Because we care. Noir means the labyrinth of the city.
Means the labyrinth of the city.
New York, San Francisco, Vienna, Berlin, L.A.
New York, San Francisco, Vienna, Berlin, L.A.
Noir.
Noir
is post-war.
Is post-war.
During the war.
During the war.
You had orders.
You had orders.
However insane.
However insane.
You had a structure.
You had a structure.
Called command.
Called command.
Now you are alone.
Now you are alone.
With no one to give you.
With no one to give you.
Orders.
Orders.
But the dangers of war.
But the dangers of war.
Are still with you.
Are still with you.
During the war.
During the war.
You had a sergeant.
You had a sergeant.
And a discernible enemy.
And a discernible enemy.
You could hate.
You could hate.
Now it is unclear, unclear.
Now it is unclear, unclear, unclear.
Who your friend is.
Who your friend is.
Who is your enemy.
Who is your enemy.
Now the war.
Now the war.
Seems to be within.
Seems to be within.
You don't know.
You don't know.
Betrayal is everywhere.
Betrayal is everywhere.
You associate.
You associate.
With the rich.
With the rich.
But you understand.
But you understand.
Their corruption.
Their corruption.
And you both want.
And you both want.
And don't want.
And don't want.
Money.
Money.
You carry a gun.
You carry a gun.
For protection.
For protection.
As you carried a weapon.
As you carried a weapon.
During the war.
During the war.
Noir.
Noir.
Is that woman.
Is that woman.
Whose allure you can't resist.
Whose allure you can't resist.
But should resist.
But should resist.
Because she too.
Because she too.
May be your enemy.
May be your enemy.
You may have to put her in jail.
You may have to put her in jail.
Desire.
Desire.
Flares up constantly.
Flares up constantly.
But desire.
But desire.
May be deadly.
May be deadly.
This is noir.
This is noir.
Darkness everywhere.
Darkness everywhere.
Guns pointing at you.
Guns pointing at you.
From the shadows.
From the shadows.
You know they're there.
You know they're there.
But you don't know who they are.
But you don't know who they are.
Or why.
Or why.
They wish to kill you.
They wish to kill you.
Capitalism.
Capitalism.
Has invented noir.
Has invented noir.
Capitalism.
Capitalism.
Is at the heart of its darkness.
Is at the heart of its darkness.
Competition is war. You spend your money.
You spend your
willing, like you.
And is willing, like you.
To use it.
To use it.
War. This one's a solo. It's called For Sange, July 10th, 2019. In a shop in Mill Valley. Clatic rings, to speak heart's truth. Today I drew blood from the finger on which I bore the ring, as if in affirmation. We and loved a film I doubt that anyone else your age has ever seen. The Phantom President, 1932. With Cohan, Jimmy Durante, and Claudette Colbert, the shortest leading lady the studio could find to match Cohan. She 5'5", he 5'4". And Sidney Toler, the second non-Asian to play Charlie Chan. I'm not sure you've ever seen a Charlie Chan movie. What delight we take in watching films together. Your mind rings in mine as we send notes to one another across distances that are not really distances because we stay in touch. There's a ring for my finger and a ring for yours as you reach the age that Dante Alighieri called the middle of the journey of our life. And I watch the wonderful light in your eyes grow brighter. Nel mezzo del camino de nostra vita. After Borges's The Art of Poetry, looking at a woman's face
we sometimes see the color of dreams. The face of a woman we see only in dreams, which is also our own face, gazing back at us as in a mirror, and the sound of a voice echoing in our consciousness, echoing from the face of the river we call sleep, that protects us from the world, as a poem does, as the world is in a poem, vast, echoing, inhabiting the poem, a sweet, green, ululating world. Borges's beautiful, elegant lines bring us into the pastiche of his thought and into the images that haunt his thought as a river makes its way in wayward, wandering lines. And my love, like a river, is a wonder that draws me deeply to a woman named Sangha, and to my knowledge that Buddha is the meaning of Sangha, and to poetry, to the vast river that time is, to Borges, and to wonder. We're going to close with a duet. We're going to end with vaudeville because I've lived with the shadow of vaudeville all my life. My father was a tap dancer. I'm going to continue with a pair of performers, Ed Gallagher and Al Sheen, Gallagher and Sheen. They were vaudevillians and most famous for a song, "Are you positive, Mr. Gallagher? Absolutely, Mr. Sheen." I've adapted the song for my own purposes, and I've asked Sangha to perform it with me. It's called Mr. Gallagher, Mr. Sheen, Mr. Trump. Oh, Mr. Gallagher.
Mr. Sheen.
Oh, Mr. Gallagher.
Yes, I'm here.
Have you heard about our latest president?
Well, what's the news?
He bans every bird and manno that comes back from Capistrano. I believe that he'd abscond with all my rent.
Oh, Mr. Sheen, he's a president who's very low and mean. If you take a second look, you'll conclude that he's a crook.
No compassion, Mr. Gallagher.
He's a tyrant, Mr. Sheen.
Oh, Mr. Gallagher.
Yes, hello.
Mr. Gallagher.
I'm still listening.
Have you heard of Mr. Mueller's new report?
What of Trump?
How he greases Russian wheels and makes very shady deals. I believe that he will end up in the court.
Oh, Mr. Sheen, he will soon go down just like a submarine. The subpoena is all he ducks. They say justice he obstructs.
He's a sly one, Mr. Gallagher.
He's an outlaw, Mr. Sheen.
Oh, Mr. Gallagher.
I am he.
Mr. Gallagher.
Can't you see?
I am really quite a patriot at heart.
Yes, you are.
You see, liberty is not static. It is rich and democratic. There's room for everyone to play a part.
Oh, Mr. Sheen, I'd say I know exactly what you mean. Though I rarely ever brag, I salute and love the flag.
It's America, Mr. Gallagher.
Land of liberty, Mr. Sheen.
Oh, Mr. Gallagher.
Mr. Sheen.
Mr. Gallagher.
I'm right here.
How I love that word. It's called diversity.
A fine word.
We began our country thus. It became our biggest plus. I love to sing our country 'tis of thee.
Oh, Mr. Sheen, I believe you've hit it strictly on the bean. I am Irish, you're a Jew, Mexicans and Muslims too.
Don't forget the ones from Africa.
They are great ones, Mr. Sheen.
Oh, Mr. Gallagher.
Mr. Sheen.
Mr. Gallagher.
Mr. Sheen.
There are other voices singing our old song.
Yes, there are.
I can hear them day and night, making rhymes the way we might. Do you think that anyone will sing along?
Oh, Mr. Sheen, it's the action of the phonograph machine. We are dead and gone to glory. Someone else must tell our story.
They sing proudly, Mr. Gallagher.
We're still living, Mr. Sheen.
They sing proudly, Mr. Gallagher. We're still living, Mr. Sheen. Thank you very much.
We're going to take a quick break, and if the cursor Brady will come up here, we'll take care of these technological
Bless his heart. Is the art of poetry in that? Hey, you. Are you gonna read? Oh, yeah, incredible.
Yeah, we're gonna do the practice of changing it. All this, so you touch the square.
That's the square, right?